Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ira and in this video I want to tell you about my psychology experience. This is not the first video where I mentioned that I attend a psychologist, so in this video I want to cover this topic more and to tell you why I started doing it, how long I've been doing it, and like my feedback and the results that I achieved, and maybe some disadvantages that I see in this process of visiting the psychologist. And I think that this is the first video where I am so energized and so happy. This is just because we have some upbeat news about the situation in Ukraine. However, it doesn't mean that the war is over. It's not over yet. But we all are sure that we will soon win, and we still need your help. So if you want to help Ukraine to achieve victory as soon as possible, in this video, in the description of this video, I leave some ways how to help Ukrainians and how to help our army. So there are very simple steps that everyone can do, and it's not always about the money and huge sums. So you are very welcome to help, and we all are really grateful for your help and for everything you've already done for us. So the first thing that I want to talk with you about is why I actually started visiting a psychologist. So actually there were a lot of reasons why I decided to do it, but there was any specific purpose. Like I thought on this for some time, and then I also found a blog of a psychologist, and I knew this person but as a dancer, not as a psychologist. And I used to be a dancer as well, so we were in the same community, but we haven't known each other too personally. Like we knew that okay, Ira exists and that girl also exists. And then I found her blog on Instagram where she also shared a lot of things about psychology and her studies, and I thought that it's interesting, and that's it. So all of this happened 2 maybe a little bit more years ago, and at that time psychology wasn't on such a hype as it is now, especially in post-Soviet countries, because I think that if you're from America, we have a little difference in the attendance to psychology and visiting a psychologist. So maybe for Americans, if it's not a stereotype, it's the usual thing. But for people in Ukraine, in Russia, in, I don't know, Belarus, Kazakhstan, I think that it's not so popular, and even in my family I faced some misunderstandings, and people were what for do you need to go to a psychologist? What are you going to talk about? Are you going to share our family secrets? So yeah, it was a little bit strange. And just because it wasn't so popular at the time, I even didn't know what to expect from it. Now, of course, we all hear about those personal boundaries and such, I don't know, usual things, and healthy relationships, mental health, how to support mental health, anxiety, how to ease your anxiety, and so on and so on. So these phrases, they are pretty typical. At that time I even didn't know how to explain my feelings and how to express them, or why I bite my nails when I feel overwhelmed or too stressed, and why my hands are shaking all the time. So I didn't understand that all of this was the match for one reason. at the same time I was really into analyzing myself, analyzing my thoughts, my behavior, but more on the coach level. Like, I didn't connect it to the way our nervous system works, and like I don't know how to explain it correctly, so I was interested more in how to become more productive, why do we procrastinate, so such basic things, and that's it. But I didn't know how to delve deeper, and at one time, like, all these things, and pieces of advice, they really helped me to get more productive, or like maybe more practical at some point. And then I was stuck. Like, I had some progress, some success, maybe even at my work, so I knew that in order to be a better person you always have to work hard. So it helped for some time, and that at some time I just was stuck, and I couldn't understand where should I go, how can I develop myself more, and that's it. And I didn't know what to do. So, and all of this happened at the same time as I found the blog of my psychologist, and I thought that maybe this will help me. And I texted her, and so we discussed the first our appointment, and I have to mention that I have my therapy online, just because I am from Kharkiv and my psychologist is from Odessa. But I can say that it really makes our meetings worse, no, but we even managed to see each other one time, but I'll talk about this a little bit later. So during our first session, she asked me what is the purpose, so what do you want to do here and what do you want to maybe work on? And I was like, well, I don't know. And I explained her that, like, well, I do love analyzing everything and becoming a better person, and I feel that I stuck at some point and I don't know what to do next, so that's it. And like, I want to get a better quality of life, so we can name it so. And then we started our meetings, but one very interesting thing that happened, that during our first 5 or 6 sessions, or even more, I was talking just about my family. So every time my psychologist was reminding me that these sessions are for you, not for your family members, but I was sharing the problems they had, and I was waiting for the solutions to their problems. And now talking about it, it sounds really crazy, but for me at that time it was like my usual life. I was always trying to help everyone in my family, and sometimes they even didn't ask me to do it, but it was like my intention and my purpose, and I thought that how can I live my life without helping anyone? Like, it's I don't know. Is it life then? So yes, and this was the first thing that we started working on, because it was like really huge. And yeah, she told me that here we can work on personal boundaries, saying no. And you know, while I was preparing this video, now I can understand which topics we really worked on a lot, and analyzing my speech during our first session, I can now say which problems I really had and I had to work on. So as I mentioned, it were personal boundaries, separation from parents and from the partner as well. And then what else? I have here a quick note for myself. So anxiety, really high anxiety, and as I mentioned, I used to bite nails a lot, and even now when we have like really stressful situation, especially as it was when the war broke out, it was crazy, and I like from time to time I gave up this habit and then I gain it once again if I face some really huge troubles. Then trembling and like more of tremor, exactly, so my hands are always shaking, but also depending on the situation. The first months of the war they were like really like this, now it's better. And what else I wanted to mention here? So too shy to express myself, too shy to say no, too afraid of everything, especially of death. This is like what my fear number one, and I had a lot of nightmares on this and a lot of thoughts that were really scaring me. So yeah, and it was very unpleasant for me to think about it. And one and the most important thing that I am still working on, and I can't get rid of this, is working and studying 24/7 and forgetting how to rest. However, now I have this reminder in my mind that every time when I'm planning something, I'm like, well, will I manage to have rest if I plan this way? Or should I edit something so I will manage to have some rest? And this is the first thing that really improved while I was having and while I've been having my psychology sessions. But talking about the productivity and all this obsession with productivity, I'm still not over with it. So I assess my day with how much I did and how productive it was. And productive means for me that this actions, they will bring me some result, especially in the money equation. I don't know why this happened to me, and was actually the last topic that I discussed with my psychologist. It was yesterday. Yeah, and I think that I will work on this and somehow I will get over this, but for now this is what really stops me from living simple life. Because imagine if I have just the usual day where I satisfy my basic needs, like have rest, eat, have bath, like some usual things, shopping or walking, then I think that this day wasn't good just because I haven't done anything productive that will be turned into money. I think this is crazy too for me. So this is my history and my usual behavior and the reasons why I decided to go to the psychologist. But as I mentioned already, it was on a very unconscious level, so I didn't realize that these were the problems and this is what I had to work with. I just realized that I was stuck and I have to do something with this. Only now I can see that these were really the factors why I felt bad from time to time and I didn't have any motivation and I couldn't step forward. And I think that I do believe that I'm a very lucky person, just because I found my psychologist straight from the first time. So we had one session and 2 years ago, and till now we are still working together. And here one interesting thing that I'm still thinking about is that a lot of people, they go to the psychologist to solve one or several problems and then they finish their meetings. for me it didn't work this way, but every time I saw that the person had a request to solve something or to improve something, and then their sessions were over. So I talked to my psychologist about it, and I was just like curious, maybe something's wrong with me and I have to like work better and harder. But the idea is that the deeper are your relationships with your psychologist, the deeper you can go in your sessions and discuss things. Because when you don't know the person, it's really hard to share some your like deep secrets and very, I don't know, intimate information, for example. So the deeper your relationships with psychologists are, it really influences the way you have your sessions. They become deeper, and you can even notice some things you haven't noticed before this session, for example. So it's really cool, and that's why I'm not thinking about giving up having my sessions, just because we've been really too long with each other, and right now our sessions, they are very interesting, and it's really gripping when you come to the session and you just turn off your mind and turn off your controlling of the situation, because it's easier to trust and to say really everything. Just before before this period, and especially at the beginning, I always was controlling what I'm saying, and of course I was insecure to share some things, and I was trying to filter what I say, or for example I had some thoughts and I didn't share them, so I could share them after some time. Now it's not like this, and it's really interesting, and it really brings even more results. So now I want to talk with you about did it really help me, like visiting a psychologist. And I think that there will be no surprise that I say yes, because especially now when the war started, if I hadn't have my therapy, I think the situation would be much worse for me. As I mentioned, I used to be a very anxious person, and I was really overthinking everything, and for me it's even not really safe to go out alone. So I'm really scared of everything, and especially when it comes to my safety. So the situation with war is really like a nightmare for me, and I think that this is a nightmare for everyone, but for me it was like double time. So still I survived, and I'm happy. I mean, mentally, of course, because like I could have depression, for example, or even some disorders, because I have this tendency. And during this period while I'm having my therapy sessions, I also had some crisis when we lost our grandmother. So I lost my grandmother, and other family members of my family, they lost a family member, and it was really hard. And at that time I felt worse than now during war, just because I didn't have therapy for a too long time. So I faced panic attacks, huge anxiety, insomnia, and a lot of such things. So my tremor became even worse, nails biting, so all the symptoms that I have, plus insomnia, crazy insomnia. I couldn't sleep for several weeks at all, and it was like a terror to me. So yeah, and I always thought that maybe I'm crazy, or maybe I will become crazy. So yes, it was really dark times for me. And so when I was thinking that the work would possibly start, I also was very afraid of my mental health and how it would be for me in this case. But thanks God that I haven't gave up my therapy sessions, and here I am. I can smile even during such tough times. And yes, so this is the brightest example if therapy really helps. And of course, I managed to learn how to say no. I have nicely done separation with parents, so it's easier for me now to deal with some emotions or even with some arguments we can have. And at the same time we can have really nice chats, and I have this boundary where I can stop myself from telling something, and the same with a partner, the same with the work. Now I can at least divide work and rest. So a lot of things really changed, and I have a huge impact on my life, and I'm really grateful to myself firstly that I did it. Just because of this, now I can also film the videos on YouTube, and I can really understand if I want to do something or I don't want to do it. So I distinguish a lot of things about myself and my personal wishes, and I can understand if this is my wish or no, it's someone's idea that I have to do it. So it's really cool and it really helps a lot. But for this you have to find the right specialist, really qualified person. So you can notice the changes you have during your therapy is the way how the relationships between you and your psychologist change, and the way you change during these therapy sessions. So this was very unpredictable thing for me, because I didn't realize that you really can see, you can really notice it. And like, I never thought that the relationship with my therapist could be like this as we have them now, because when we started I was reading her messages, for example, with some intonations in my head, or with some thought that maybe in this sentence she wants to say this or this. So I wasn't reading the message, but I was trying to use my imagination and to add something into her words. The same during the sessions. And the most progressive and productive work you have at your sessions is when you work out your relationships with your psychologist, because we had some crises, and at some point I was about to leave our sessions to finish them, and then we discussed it a lot, and we even had some like kind of argument, and with such strong emotions as anger. And there were two ways: either just to finish it and really forget about it, or to work out it together. And it was such a huge room for improvement, especially for me, because I used to avoid conflicts, and I used to like forget people, just stop texting them, ignore them, and that's it. So I didn't want any conflicts, especially with this, you know, outrageous emotions. So this was really cool for me. And at the time my psychologist also said that this is like the real work when it comes to your relationships with your psychologist. So really interesting, and this is what gives you only the long-term therapy, really. And the last thing that I want to mention is now as I mentioned already in one of my videos, is that I started my studies to become a psychologist myself. And I think that this is also really exciting to where it can bring you, because when I was not into therapy and I didn't know a lot of things about it, I was like, oh, to become a psychologist? No. And I've never heard a lot about this profession and how it goes. I just had this, you know, stereotypes in my head, and that's it. Now when I have this strong understanding of what really goes on, and like this is a very interesting job, and there is a lot of things that you can't predict during your work, and especially during your session, because you can't plan it. And every time you work with a client, for example, or even with your psychologist, you don't know what to expect. And it's so intriguing, and it really evokes a lot of curiosity. What will be next and what will come up? So really exciting to study it. And right now I'm having my like specific course on Gestalt therapy, and after I finish the first grade, then I think I will enter the university to become like really professional with all those certifications needed. And yeah, so this is where therapy brought me to, you know. I came with just several requests, and I can say that they were pretty usual and pretty typical for people, especially of my age, because at that time I was 21. And yeah, this is where I am 2 years later, becoming a psychologist myself. So I hope that this video will inspire you to at least start thinking about therapy, and maybe even visiting a psychologist at least for one time, just to try. Or if you've been thinking a lot about this and you just couldn't like risk, roll the dice, so now you can do it. And trust me, it is really scary at the first time, because when I was calling my psychologist for the first time on FaceTime, my hands were trembling and shaking, and I was like really nervous. But it's okay, and we all have this, and like having this fear is the usual thing. So, and after some time you will get rid of this, and you will see the beautiful results of your work. And maybe for some people who watched this video, they didn't understand what for you need therapy, and it's also okay. So anyway, I hope that this video will bring you some thoughts to think about, and maybe some of you will even think of becoming a psychologist yourselves. So you can share the thoughts you have on this video in the comments, and I will be really grateful to read them and to answer them. See you in the next videos. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to help Ukrainians win as soon as it's possible. See you in the next video. Bye bye.